we talk about 3 pillars to internet success, there's also one cultural differentiation that is common in all these stores, and that exactly is that harmony that's got to exist. Everyone has to embrace the internet customer. That is not a niche market anymore. It's everybody, virtually. Most of your customers aren't going to tell you that they've been online, but they have, regardless of where you are in the country and what franchise you sell. So getting your people all in line and getting the culture of your dealership all getting along and working together towards one goal is really the leader's job.
Oftentimes it goes right back to getting mid-level management bought in. They have to really want to support this. So what's the way to make them support it? It's pretty simple. They're all paid from the bottom line. Show them how this will affect their bottom line positively and take that threat out of it, and they'll line up behind it pretty quickly.
Unless you get them to buy in, they're never going to buy in. There's always going to be this 2 groups within a dealership, and the dealerships will never realize the true benefits of the internet.
You know, the salespeople at a dealership have a tendency to have an image or a stereotype of an internet customer. And their initial perceptions are associated with both fear, loss of gross profit, challenges with trying to fit that person and put them through the traditional sales process, have perhaps jaded them on their opinion of an internet customer. With a little bit of training and a little bit of focus and teaching them about how to use and develop a customer base so that the people who don't buy a car today are still very much possibilities for them electronically, and teaching them not just to do things, but why they do things and why consumers have the habits they're having.
So when you look at the academic definition of management and leadership, management is defined as allocating the business assets to create consistency, predictable, consistent, desired results. A leader's job is to take the business assets and allocate them and lead the group in such a way that actually produces change. So while there is certainly an overlapping skill set, and while a manager may be a leader and vice versa, they do require a different skill set. Managers tend to spend more time looking at numbers, hard facts, figures, and short-term deadlines. Leaders tend to take a step back and they look at the bigger picture, the larger vision, more warm and fuzzy, motivational side, the people side of the business. Let's get them rallied up and moving in the right direction.
The biggest struggle that dealers have today is to get trained personnel to manage the requests effectively, especially as we're hitting the benchmarks that we talked about, where you can respond quickly, give consumers really a full and detailed understanding of what you have to offer, represent your dealership well, and be able to follow up for the long term.
We've had a struggle, as we've mentioned earlier, with the sales managers believing in what we're doing and getting everybody behind it. You know, we've been lucky to be in a store where Jason has been, from the top, has been very much focused on, you know, making this an internet store.
So as dealers, how does this affect us? Well, if a leader's job is to produce change and a manager's job is to produce consistency, one would argue that business has always been evolving and changing, and while that's true, the rate at which it's changing has greatly accelerated, mostly due to the advancements in information technology. So dealerships, the change required on dealerships today is much, much more strenuous than what it was 10, 15, or 20 years ago. Your leaders in your dealership need to not only be able to produce the consistent, desirable results, but at the times they need to be able to recognize changes in the economic environment and be able to produce the changes in the dealership to keep you current with what's happening.
I think a lot of dealers look at the internet as a cost center versus a profit center. If you empower the right people and you empower and put a budget in place, and you're flexible within that budget. You know, if someone's going, hey, I'm going to be a little bit over because this is why, and the justification is there, and the general manager and the owner is open to that. But the key word goes back to trusting that person's decisions.
If you are giving somebody a title but not giving the authority, you are actually working negatively. Now, when you hire a sales manager in the dealership, how do you hire a sales manager? Do you tell them that I'm hiring you as a sales manager, but when you're going to close the deal, you have to come and talk to a general manager first? It's not going to work, because you say, well, I'm not going to work here. But internet managers do not have the clout yet. They do not. They're not in the system of where people can recognize that they have to have the same authority as a sales manager in the dealership. internet manager should be actually equivalent to a sales manager in the showroom floor, have the same authority.
Everything in this business can be made easier if we're just willing to do, as managers, a little more effort. Not only will you sell more cars, but that salesperson is more likely to stay employed at your dealership, be more successful, work for you longer. He's going to generate a higher CSI score because it's not the round peg in a square hole thing going on.
What then defines a desk manager today? Well, I would argue that what defines a desk manager today is his ability to communicate with, connect with, and motivate his people to produce these, desired, consistent, predictable results. The changing landscape of information and how readily available this information is has sort of changed the necessary skill set that a manager must have. Now it's ever more important to be able to motivate that good salesperson, to be able to recruit somebody in, bring them along, and grow them in the business.
We've had tremendous success of getting salespeople to open their eyes and understand, as long as they know what's in it for them, they have embraced it and been very successful.
So in looking for this person or this leader, how do you sort of define or quantify this person? I think it's everything that we always looked for in the past in a manager, but with the additional ability for someone to take a step back, see the bigger picture, be able to pull that vision, and now I think we need a greater ability to motivate, adapt, and change people's direction. And that's not an easy task. So from a leadership's perspective, it's very, very important to find somebody that can connect with people on a personal level and really motivate them at their deepest root and be able to move them along if you want to produce meaningful change in your organization. It's not a plug-and-play thing. There's emotions, there's people that will stonewall your activities, and it's sort of a delicate balance of keeping this mechanical and this organic side of your organization happy and moving in the right direction. And a leader's job is really to provide that balance.
If a salesperson's been trained his whole life to do one thing one way, how do you just wake up and take that same consumer and do something that's completely different? It's hard for them to do that. And of course, that's where training plays a big part into it. We train and support, and we teach them not just, car dealerships have trained people for years, is just do it, just do it. We train them the psychology of how people buy cars and their motivation behind it. And of course, when you work hands-on in a training environment and you lead by example, then it changes their world. It actually is an easier sales process on the internet.
Computers, monitors, telephones, pagers, whatever you need, you should provide the person. Yeah. A lot of time I have seen in the past, dealerships say, you know what, once I start making money on my internet department, I will then invest some money. How would you like to go to a manufacturer, Lexus or Mercedes or something, say, you know what, you just give me the car, I sell the car. Once I sell the car, I will make the building. You know how many manufacturers will give you the franchise? None. But here we hear some dealer principal, they say, okay, you know what I'll do? I like the idea, internet is a great thing, but let's see how many cars we sell first without the process. And if you're successful, then I'll put the money and I'll set up the department. Wrong, wrong, wrong. You have to invest those 4 things: tools, technology, training, and support. If you have that, you are successful.
If you're going to convert the retail sales floor to a fully functional internet department, a couple things have to take place. Number one, you have to give computers on everybody's desk, and you have to have high-speed internet access. If you're not willing to do that, don't bother trying to go there.
There's all kinds of incentive programs. A lot of dealerships are running really unique incentive programs around getting their sales reps to collect email addresses, and it really improves the results at the end of the day. Building something like that into their compensation plan, or even giving them a spiff or some kind of incentive, really improves your results at the end of the day.
And then if you have money left over, pay your internet managers and your salespeople and pay those people more, because you really need to have the best people in the market working for you. Because like we said earlier, that skill set's so important. That's not where you should be cutting costs. You should have those best people, those people that know how to connect with consumers over the phone and via email. That's your competitive advantage, and that's where some of that money should go.
Every salesperson in the dealership needs to learn the skill sets associated as an internet manager. The faster we do that, the more we're going to improve the industry and create a follow-up and more professional mechanisms to accommodate today's consumer. We're seeing that most internet departments are getting larger and larger by the day, and more customers are doing that. Fewer are walking into the showroom floor cold, and that the retail departments are struggling and getting smaller and smaller. If we can train all of our salespeople to take email addresses and follow up with customers and send them broadcasts and function as an internet manager, I think we're going to grow this industry a lot faster.
We're in the process of blending the departments so they become one. We want everyone to end up being an internet salesperson, and so as we see the opportunity, we will train somebody. We have one person overseeing the training and monitoring all the time to make sure that as someone becomes from a floor salesperson into an internet salesperson, that they know what they're doing, they're answering emails correctly, they're using the process that we have put in place.
It grows from within. You start with a simple, regular internet manager, one-man operation doing it, and when it grows up, you add another person. When it grows up, add another person. When you start selling 70, 80 cars, 60, 70 cars, what have you, all of a sudden, you know what? Now you have to sit down and have serious talk to the management and talk to the general managers. Listen, you know what? Thank you for helping me. You brought us to this level now. To go to the next level, we cannot keep doing this. We have to do something different. And that's how we did evolve to internet store in Florida. Unless you get serious, you won't get the reward. They don't have a way to measure it. If you can measure it, you cannot manage it.
The ability of a leader to see the vision, define it for his people, motivate them, and get them marching in the right direction is really the defining factor in a good leader's career. And right now, that's sort of the defining moment in a lot of dealers' careers right now. Is now we've got this change out here in this automotive e-commerce, and all this internet stuff is coming at us at the speed of light. And what does this mean for my dealership? How do I and what do I bring in, and then how do I deploy it? And then from there, it becomes an execution game, and our old management skills come right back into play and help us produce this consistent desired results, which is growth and profitability, customer satisfaction, market share, and volume.